I've had a few questions asked of me to help make a third video. I'll just start off by explaining what corset I'm wearing today. This is a gallery serpentine piece. It is a 26-inch overbust that I bought for my Year 12 formal, so quite some time ago. When I first bought this, I was able to somewhat close it. There was a gap of about that much, 3-4 inch. This is it fully closed, which is no reduction on my waist. This is just my natural waist size, so more than anything it's just slimming. That is kind of the basis for one of the questions that I got asked. Does wearing an overbust or an underbust or a waist cincher help with, pushing around your skin, your fat, and your organs? Because a lot of women get excess skin at the top and excess skin at the bottom. It's got to go somewhere. Obviously, overbusts are a little bit better for this because if you have a cincher, you'll find that it kind of comes out where your bra strap is, and if you have a tight-fitting bra, then that can make it worse. It's basically the size of your corset. So I've got a couple of my corsets here, just to show you the size difference. This is the one from my first video, so as you can see, that is a lot smaller than this one. Then the yellow one that I was wearing for my second video, so that's that size. Another Japanese style one that I've got. So this one's sort of a normal underbust size. And then I have a second overbust, which as you can see is even longer than this one. So this one helps the most because it has material beyond the bones. So you can see the bone ending there, and then this material here, which allows for the corset to be a little bit more flush instead of it completely ending and then all your skin bulging out at the bottom. Probably a longer corset is better if you are having troubles with having excess skin around the top and the bottom. Also, looser fitting clothing is a great way to help with this. So you may need to adjust your bra strap to accommodate for the excess skin that's being pushed up. And you may want to wear a bigger size pair of jeans, which I find I go up about 2 sizes in jeans when I tight lace because of the organs and the skin that I push down into my pelvis. Okay, so my favourite corset would probably have to be this one, which is from Desert Orchid Corsetry. It's quite a long line corset with nice lacing all around the top. However, that lacing does get quite itchy under your armpits, so you kind of have to wear a top, like a jacket with it or something, to stop it rubbing. That one's my most comfortable just because the pressure is equalised almost the entire way along my torso. As for my other corsets, probably my What Katie Did cincher, this one, is the most versatile one that I own. And these two, I just like to interchange, wear something a bit different. They're not as versatile as the other two because they don't really go with everything, so therefore I don't wear them as much. I do have other corsets, Timeless Trends ones, and a couple of mock-ups, but yeah, this is the creme de la creme of my corset collection. So, is it true that working out in a corset slims you down and helps you lose weight? Well, yes and no. Working out and having a good diet is all a part of waist training. If you don't do that, then you're obviously just going to atrophy all the muscles in your torso and you'll make yourself pretty sick if you just eat crappy food and tight lace at the same time, especially if you're having carbonated drinks or, things that'll make you bloated, where it's just better to eat healthy because your meal size will be reduced with the tightness that the corset puts on your stomach. Are you going to snap in the middle? Can you breathe? How do you eat in that? You know, obviously answered by the fact that I'm standing here. I'm a functioning human being. People aren't used to the unnatural. So especially when wearing some of my tighter, smaller ones, you get some weird comments about, you know, coming in two pieces that people are like, you know, do you even connect at the waist? So yeah, it's more just something that's really new to them, and that, you know, the comments are what I expect of something that nobody's really seen before. I will say at this point that I am based in Australia. I'm located in one of the major cities, but, you know, it's not something that's commonplace here. I don't really know anywhere that it is commonplace, but in my city alone, I don't know of anyone else who does it. It's kind of something that people really, you know, have a bit of a shock factor towards when they see me. What do I do in my corset? Well, most of the time I go to uni, so I generally sit. Do a lot of sitting in lectures and in labs, and then I come home and I sit because I'm on the computer writing papers. So that's the majority of it. I sometimes sleep in my corset. If I do that, I usually pick something like this that's a lot more looser, or I'll wear one of my shorter corsets, but I won't actually tight lace in it, because the whole idea of sleeping in your corset is to just get those few extra hours in with the light compression so you don't lose too much of the shape, but not to actually, you know, squeeze guts out while you're sleeping. You're less likely to notice when you're uncomfortable when you're sleeping, and so you can, you know, wake up with pinching or uncomfortable feelings like numbness and stuff like that. Also, a long line corset like this is easier to sleep in if you're a side sleeper, because you can just balance it out with a bit of like a foam cushion, or you can get mini like beanbag cushions that you can put at the sides. Whereas having something that cinches from here to here and is a lot more tighter, obviously you have to deal with a bigger gap, and sometimes, you know, that can be uncomfortable, especially when your cushion becomes displaced and you're leaning on the hip and the shoulder. And obviously as you lean towards one side, the pressure is going to increase across here and increase here and here, which can cause yourself quite a bit of damage. Like I said, you're not likely or as likely to notice when you're sleeping if you're uncomfortable. When buying your first corset, tips, recommendations probably be to stick with something that's an overbust or a full size unbust, just because the pressure's a lot less. Like, the pressure here isn't as much because it's redistributed across the entire length of your torso. So they're a lot more easier for beginners. Also, shape comes to play in it a lot. If you're a lot more curvy, then you want a more curvier corset to start off with to accommodate for that, so you don't get pressure across the top of your hips or rubbing underneath your arms, or any number of problems that can come with an ill-fitting corset. Don't be a skimp on your budget. Seriously, buying a crappy corset and wasting your money and your time and hurting yourself is not worth it. If you can buy custom right off the bat, then seriously go for it. They're so much more comfortable than, you know, anything really off the rack. I'm lucky in the sense that, you know, something like this that is off the rack, you know, does fit quite well, even though it's not giving me ridiculous curves. As you can see, there's still quite a bit of squish. If you can buy custom, it's better because it'll be fitted to you, but, you know, off the rack isn't bad. They usually range from like $80 to $90 at the very lowest off the racks, or the good quality ones anyway, that aren't cheap and plastic and nasty. You can have a look at my other video, the one where I'm wearing the yellow corset, this one. I talk about how to tell if your corset is a piece of crap, for lack of a better word, and talk about the difference between buying something good and buying something that's cheap and nasty. Don't be afraid of the price tag. Good work comes with a good corset, and you're paying someone to put hours and hours and hours of effort into it. Have a shop around. You can get like sales and discounts and stuff like that, so don't just be like, oh my god, I need to buy a corset, I have to rush out and buy the first one I see. You know, find something that you think is going to be versatile with a bunch of outfits. Usually black matte is fairly good to go with, and you'll find that, you know, you'll wear it a lot more. Try your best to gauge how squishy you are. Even just put your hands around your hips and, you know, give it a good squish. Just to, you know, see, basically. If you can't squish underneath your ribs heaps, then obviously a corset which ends at the base of your ribs and is quite short is going to be something that's going to be difficult for you. So the pressure will be at the top and the bottom of the corset. So something like this, which I wore last time, puts pressure at the very base of my ribs and the top of my hips. I find it okay, but it takes me a while to get myself into it. I actually slowly lace up into it. It's taken me a while to break it in. Whereas something like this, I can whack on, I can not wear my corset for a week, put this back on, and it fits, and it's fine. And I don't have to work my way back into it, break it in again, make sure my body's accustomed to it, because the pressure is minimal around my waist. It's, a good fit for a great spread, and yeah, it's not really a problem. So usually the size that they'll sell for an underbust, sorry, this one's tangled up and everything, is about this height. So if I just up for a second, so that's, from the base of the hips to just underneath the breast, and that's your usual size sort of underbust that you'll buy. In comparison to the cincher, you can see, sorry if I just go like that, you can see how much smaller it is. So the cincher's, a good 2 inches lower, and that's why it puts pressure at the underside of the ribs as it digs in, because that's what it's pushing out at the top. Something else I will talk about is the level of flexibility that you have in different corsets, because obviously you may want a degree of flexibility in the top of your corset and the base, especially if you're wearing these around the house with kids, cleaning, wearing them to work, any number of situations. As I don't do extremely active things in my corsets, like I have been on a jog. I used to jog in one of my corsets. I fire-twirled in them as well, but that's more, upper body strength than anything. You're not really moving too much. But it's most to do with the length of the corset. So something like this, obviously, that's pretty much as I can go from side to side. And that's about it. And when I do, it pushes underneath the armpit and pushes pressure on the hips, because the bones are bending inwards here, digging in at the top, and obviously they're not going to shift at the top here. Whereas something like this, again, the what Katie did, much smaller, you'll find sits from about there to there, and that'll give you more room to move your top half. But in doing so, if you do bend, it puts a lot more pressure to the sides and the bottom of the corset, because it's a lot more smaller, and the bones obviously A, aren't longer and therefore are less flexible, and B, because the amount of pressure on that smaller area is amplified rather than having amount of pressure over a larger area. So that's something to take into consideration. Again, stereotypical sized underbusts like this one are fairly good. They're fairly versatile and kind of pretty much applicable to all situations. They give you the freedom at the top. They can be a little bit constricting if you wear them with an underwire, because they can shift your bra around and whatnot, and it can get a little bit uncomfortable. But obviously you can either loosen up the top of your corset, obviously making sure that you keep your laces straight at the back, or adjust your bra as you feel necessary. Wear a bra that doesn't have an underwire. There's those soft bras that are, made of elastic. They're like Thin Lizzy bras or something like that, cosmetic bras, I'm not entirely sure. I'm not really into all that girly stuff. So those are more comfortable. I do have one of those that I can wear. Say that I'm wearing a dress, I still want the coverage, I still want padding, but I want to wear an underbust. They also help with the bulge you may get at the sides and the back, just going back to my previous point and question, because they flatten and smooth the skin. So wearing, elastic shapewear bras with a corset may also help with smoothing out some of those lines that you're getting. Thank you for watching, and hit like, check out my other videos that I have. There's 2 others there. Put some questions in the comments if there's anything I haven't covered already, and thank you.